Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us. At USA Global TV and Radio, we gladly provide world-class education, entertainment, news, hope, and inspiration. Our show today is the UK News and Culture, episode 132. Dr. Jacalyn, the host of the show, is out on business, but she'll be back next week. Our team member, HELENA CHARD, is out on assignment today, but never fear, our fantastic team member from Scotland, the fabulous chef, author, speaker, sailor, and so much more, who will be sharing with us the royal news, the UK updates, and the Scottish history. Please welcome Simon Macdonald.
Hello, it's Wednesday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. And I know there's people from all around the world here watching us today again as well. So yes, bonjour, guten morgen, and so on and so on and so on. So yes, it's lovely to be back. I like Wednesdays, nice days and so on, even though it's just the two of us. But there we go.
We can do it. We can handle it.
Absolutely.
It's always so lovely to see you. And like you, Simon, I love Wednesdays. I love connecting with our team members. It's such a great show. And I'm always learning from you. My goodness. North Carolina, is really big with this. That's a state here in the USA for those listening. Has a huge Scottish population. And they must be so proud, those listening, when you share the history portion.
Well, it's fair to say I think there are more Scots in America than there are in Scotland. I mean, that's for sure. But we do spread ourselves around a bit, but then our products spread ourselves around as well. I mean, look at all the the famous buildings and famous ships and steam locomotives as well, which are all built in Glasgow here in Scotland, and the inventions that came from here as well. Television, telephone, telewoman, and all the rest of it. I mean, there's just so much goes on here. Even the pop-up toaster as well is a Scottish invention. So
really,
yeah, wow. we all do all sorts of things. We try our best.
So not only is the Scottish known for their fighting warrior spirit, their inventions, right? Yes. But they're also known for their charming ability with people around the world.
We do our best as well. You're very flattering. But yes, I mean we have some some well-known faces around the world, now and historically as well, and hysterically, I think, probably when you think of people like Billy Connolly. Is a great character and still is. She's still plodding on there.
They are plodding on. So you and I are holding this show down today. So we have a little bit of extra time. And since, he doesn't know I'm going to say this, so I'm going to throw him off his feet. But, Scotland does have a lot of famous people, but you're very modest about your son. Please share once more the amazing thing he did for King Charles.
Oh, goodness. Yes. Oh, in fact, I think he's actually watching the show today. So that, come on, Paul, I hope you're going to get a red face out of this as well, not just me. But yes, when the coronation came up, and he didn't tell me until afterwards, but the Scottish crown jewels, consist there of the sceptre and the crown and the state sword of Scotland. The old state sword of Scotland was actually getting a bit fragile, so they decided, well, we really need to get a new one because it would be very embarrassing. They hold this thing up and it falls apart. So it was commissioned, and there was a team set up to build this new state sword of Scotland, and my son Paul, being a bladesmith, has built the blade for this sword. And it's the most magnificent piece of engineering and etching and so on. A lovely, lovely sword. The whole bit. It just is regal. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It's incredibly regal. So he had the honour of being involved in the building of the new State Sword of Scotland, which of course was televised right throughout the world when King Charles and Queen Camilla came to St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh for that stage part of the coronation. And it was paraded through, and the king touched it, and so on. But also, which was going on beforehand, was that he'd been summoned to meet King Charles in the Holyrood Palace to talk about the sword and the rest of the crown jewels, but in particular the sword. So I was highly flattered, highly honoured that an offspring of mine should receive this great honour to build the State Sword of Scotland. So there we are. But he makes swords. He does fight choreography, and he's a great historian. I mean, he's quite an authority on historic arms, swordplay, and all the rest of it. Going right back to Pictish times, you're going back thousands of years here, not just a couple of centuries ago. So he is quite a leading authority on that. Great researcher, and he has unearthed and found treasures of the past which are just priceless. So very proud of him.
Wow. We'll have to have him on the show one day as a guest. That's just amazing.
If I could pin him down, then yes, come on, Paul, give me a call.
But yes, I bet you were bursting with pride. Well, do you have any royal news for us?
Yeah, well, not a lot, because I've been so busy this last week, incredibly busy, and to the point where Monday morning I woke up, had to check if I've still got a pulse because I was so tired. But anyway, there's been the most wonderful video has been released this year, because Princess of Wales, or Catherine, has now finished her course of chemotherapy with cancer. So hopefully they've got this sorted out, nipped in the bud, and she's going to be totally okay. So there's this magnificent, beautiful, really heartwarming video with Kate and with Prince William and with the children as well, and it's all in a lovely woodland setting, and it's it's basically saying, I'm fine, I'm all right, I'm getting back into it again. And there's all sorts of symbolic things, like she had a butterfly in her hand, and she opens the hand and the butterfly flies off. It was just one of the most heart-wrenching, heartwarming video clips I think I have ever seen. So it's nice to see that she's getting back on the go again, and she's getting lined up for royal duties as well. She'll obviously take it easy at first, and that's it. But she's there and she's back, and it's just so lovely to see her, and it was just wonderful to see that particular video. So there we go. And King Charles, he's getting ready for his trip off to the deep south, southern hemisphere, Australia and the South Sea Islands and so on. So he's on the mend as well. So yeah, great, lovely to see.
It's absolutely wonderful news, and not only for the country, but privately for the family, because none of us, especially us children of our parents, we can't imagine our parents being sick because they're supposed to be so strong. So yes. I'm very happy for them.
Yes. Oh no, it's just so pleased the way it's all turning out now, and as I said, this video just really was the icing on top of the cake as well. Just so nice to see that. I'd love to have the video to show on today's show, but
right.
Maybe Helena might be able to get hold of that one. That's very much more her domain, I think.
Yeah. So the king's going to Australia and so forth, and is it just to say hello to the people? is there a purpose?
I don't know. It is an official visit, so that's all planned out and on the cards and
I'll
so on
find
as well.
out. Yeah.
I don't think there's been a royal visit there in you know or has there been a royal visit to the South Sea Islands? I mean, I think somebody would need to pick me up and correct me on that one if there has or if there hasn't. So anyway, I lead a very sheltered life in Scotland. But as I say, this week I have been so
Yeah,
up to the eyes.
and
Um,
y'all are so close together.
well, that's it. I mean, I suppose geographically we're not. Scotland and England are very close. Possibly on a friendship basis, it might be slightly tenuous at times. They built Hadrian's Wall across from west to east for a very good reason, I think, and that was the Romans. They got that far, and they think, oh, I don't like these Scots. They're a bit too tough even for us. So Hadrian's Wall came up, and that was it. But there we
That
go.
sounds like a piece of history you'll have to share as well, because I knew about it because of we studied the UK news and the Scottish history, but maybe not everybody in the world knows about Adrian's Wall. So that'll be a
Oh,
little
well,
piece of
that's it.
history.
It was, we're proud enough to say it was built to keep the English out. But
So
there we go.
funny.
But this week it's been a topsy turvy week in the UK. This weekend I was celebrity chef at a big festival, the Clyde Built Festival in Glasgow, and the sunshine was fantastic. It was beautiful weather, and Saturday and Sunday perfect. Even Friday was absolutely perfect. Whereas in the deep south of Englandshire, it chucked it down in the rain. They had thunderstorms, the whole bit, and so on, and
Wow.
big crisis and flooding and what have you, and so on, which makes a nice change because it's usually the other way about. So we were absolutely delighted to have the good weather in Scotland for a change. And even today, looking out there, okay, we've got a big wind from the northwest, and it's a very cold wind as well, but the sun is shining, and so all is well with the world. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like it like that.
Take that sun in before that snow comes, that's for sure.
Well,
So,
there is snow in the hills today in Scotland.
oh,
The first
wow.
snows, and I was just looking at the weather forecast later on, and it's showing in the Highlands for tomorrow night it's going to be down to -2, which must be about
Oh my
28 degrees Fahrenheit in old money.
goodness. I would not be going outside, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's it. Winter's on its way, I think. So it's not far off, and I think this is just the first warning. So the gardens will suffer,
There you
which is
go. So I know we need to get to our your wonderful presentation, but just real quickly, what did you cook? Because I always get so excited about what you cook.
yeah. Well, I love cooking. It's great. I mean, and I've been doing it for years, and I can play with my food legitimately and not get into trouble for it. And if I do, it's my own fault. So yes, the Clyde Built Festival. I cooked there last year. I was appointed as their celebrity chef, doing demonstrations right through the weekend, and it's just one of these wonderful festivals on the banks of the Clyde in Glasgow, outside the Riverside Museum, and there were just different stalls of all sorts of things. The Merchant Navy had a stall. There was the Fisherman's Mission. There was the paddle steamer Waverley had their stand. The paddle steamer Waverley, I know it so well because I served in the Waverley as a relief master for three months,
Wow.
and that was quite a few years ago. And she's the last seagoing paddle steamer in the world. She's about 286 feet long, carries around about 900 to 1,000 passengers, and does leisure cruises on the Clyde, but then is now going further afield, and she's actually gone down to the bad weather in Englandshire, and so she's doing her final season cruise down there just now. But she was built in Glasgow, and she was actually built on the site of where the Clyde Built Festival was. So it's quite a big
Wow.
thing for the Waverley Association there. And to just to add to it all as well, there's a new footbridge been opened over the Clyde, because this is right in the centre of Glasgow. And the River Clyde is a long, long river. It goes out into Large Firth, and some just beautiful scenery and lots of sea lochs here. Just where I am, we've got Loch Fyne, and Loch Fyne is it's actually the longest sea loch in the UK. And it's just so pretty as well. And that goes into the main part of the Firth of Clyde. So wonderful area. And this new footbridge going from Govan to Partick to wild parts of Glasgow, or the wild history in Glasgow, but two very important heritage areas for the shipbuilding industry. And this new bridge was officially opened on Saturday, which brought a lot more people along. So we had nearly 20,000 people on the first day.
Wow.
Which is a lot of people. And then the
That's
next day, probably somewhere between 10, 15,000 and so on. It was much more relaxed. But the weather, as I say, just helped out. So I was cooking away, doing all sorts of demos, doing things with salmon, showing people how to fillet salmon without hacking it up, and then how to recover all the bits of meat out of the other areas when you've finished filleting, taking it off the backbone. I was cooking various different dishes with salmon and showing the different cuts. I was roast smoking salmon actually there on site as well. Demonstrated a little home smoker and how easy it is to make. What else would we do? Cullen skink, one of my favourite dishes ever. Somebody said, "Oh, it's fish soup." Well, calling it Cullen skink fish soup is like calling a Rolls Royce a clapped out old car. But Cullen skink is delicious. It's a bit like chowder. Now, chowder, of course, is very popular in America. The idea, the origins of chowder actually go back to Cullen skink. And Cullen is a very small village up in the northeast coast, a small fishing village. It was quite poor, so it was a poor man's food, Cullen skink. So it's basically made using smoked haddock, potato, and milk, and onions, and that's the basis of the traditional recipe of it. Well, I like to tweak things a little bit, so I just added a little bit more, up the calories somewhat with some of the other ingredients I put in, and dished that out in in little sample pots. We went through thousands of these things. The demand for Cullen skink was unbelievable. I also did dishes with mussels and a nice cream and garlic sauce. What else do we do? Langoustine as well, just as simply as possible, because they've got such a delicate flavour. It's a shame to over embellish them. So I did all sorts of different things, and just had a wow of a time. It was great time, and just the people of Glasgow. They're so nice. I'm from that sort of area myself. And there are people, in particular in the comedy world, who say, "Well, if you can survive a Glasgow audience, you must be good." Comedians are terrified of performing to a Glasgow audience. I love it. I'm not a comedian. Well, at least I don't think I am. Some people think I am, but because they keep on saying, "Oh, you've got to be joking, Simon." But the Glasgow people are very warming people, and lovely people to interact with as well. So and it's a shame because Glasgow did have a reputation, and there was a book, No Mean City. It had a reputation, but that's all gone by the by now, and it's a lovely place, and culturally it's just quite an amazing city. It had the title of European City of Culture, so that was it. And I think some of the locals sort of said, "European City of Culture. The only culture you see is the mold growing in the walls." But it is. It's a warm city. And it's
I'm glad to know that. If I can ever make it over to Scotland, I'll be sure to pop into Glasgow.
It's a city full of comedians. I think that's why they give comedians coming in quite a hard time because
There's so many.
good comics can can be good hecklers, and I think that's where things score in Glasgow. They know how to
True,
do it
true.
right.
Well, I'm so glad you shared all that with us, and my mouth is watering thinking which one of those things I wished I could have tasted. It all sounds so divine.
Uh,
But are you ready to do your presentation?
yes, certainly,
Let's
yes.
get
Well,
going.
let's get going on this one because this is part 3 of the diary of a Scottish soldier who was at the Battle of Cassino in Italy during World War II. The Battle of Cassino was actually going on about the same time as the Normandy landings. So those who fought at Cassino were known as the D-Day Dodgers. But in actual fact, when it came down to the line, Cassino was a horrific battle. It lasted over a long time. There were over 55,000 Allied servicemen lost their lives at this battle. So it was, the heaviest loss of life in any battle from World War II. So they had a very tough time as well. A lot of hostile conditions to deal with. It was, very, very hot that year in the summer, and getting food and water in particular could be quite difficult, quite challenging at times. So the soldier who wrote his diary on whatever scraps of paper he could lay his hands on at the time, and it was written actually on the battlefield. Now I find this one quite difficult to do because the soldier in question was my father, Major James Macdonald, MC. He won the Military Cross there. So part 3 we've got this week is continuing on, and it starts in San Pancrazio in June 1945. So day 1, after a lovely 3 days out, took over from the Royal West Kent and left our old position. Very quiet. Feel Jerry's about to pull out. Day 2, advanced. Jerry has pulled out. Did 8 miles without seeing him and got orders to rest for 14 days. Heaven. Florence, July 1945. Day 1. Advanced by night up Main Road, 10 miles south of Florence. Order B, A, and D companies. B company hit heavy trouble after a mile and dug in till daylight. 6 a.m. advance. Order A company and tanks. B and D companies bashed on fast and actually beat the tanks over the 5-mile stretch. We caught Germans at a villa in Angelina, where we killed about 12 and took 5 prisoner. The rest bailed out in the direction of Florence. The villa is a super place, so decided to stop till the battalion and tanks catch us up. Found a German meal prepared, so the company ate it, complete with coffee. Very nice too. Commanding officer arrived and decided we'd done enough for one day. Pushed B and D companies about half a mile into some farms, and we stayed in the villa. Beds! Oh, yippee. Day 2, order to attack that afternoon cancelled. Once again cancelled. Heavy shelling. Tom Campbell was very seriously wounded, and several casualties. Final plan and operation tomorrow, so back to bed. Day 3, a company to push down and capture, Gracina, a fair-sized little town on the south outskirts of Florence. Did this okay, no casualties, bags of loot, and Jerry running like hell. The Royal West Kent and Royal Fusiliers 6 passed through us into South Florence. Spent 3 days in very pleasant in Gracina. Occasional shelling, 3 casualties, relieved by the Yorkshire Dragoons, and pushed south to Floringo for a month's rest and refit. The Germans shell here at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 6 p.m., 10 p.m., and at half-hourly intervals until 5 a.m., and then nothing until 10 again. Very regular, and you could set your watch by it. The Royal Artillery officer and I see patrols off each night and collect information from them in the morning. Piece it all together and get the general picture for a brigade. It's a tricky trip up to C Company, for they're only 35 yards from the German forward positions, and if they hear you coming, they chuck grenades at you. Not nice. Got a fright tonight. Just reaching C Company when something ran at me from a hedge. I hit the deck, but it was only a baby donkey, about 1.5 feet high. So I took it back to battalion headquarters with me and gave it to the commanding officer, taking it out of the line of fire. 5th and 6th nights. Long-distance patrol. Self and 2 others, we crawled through the enemy lines to a depth of 5 miles in behind enemy lines to Aliyah. Milled around German gun positions and got very useful information. Then we lay up on a hill overlooking Aliyah all day. If only I had a wireless set with us, we could knock hell out the German transport with our artillery. We crawled back through the lines again without incident. The Germans seemed very unsure of themselves, and I'd have loved to have shot a few, but orders said, get back without being discovered. Very good fun. Much better than lying still and being shelled. 7th night, the commanding officer gave me a night in bed. What a lovely sleep. Fed up with rations, bully or sardines and biscuits all the time. The tea has a funny taste. The 8th night, A Company ambush a patrol. Lay in wait for the German patrol, but it didn't turn up. Worse luck. Corporal Mossop got wounded in the bottom by a mortar bomb. Silly ass, ought to have been lying down at the time. 9th night, a company recce patrol. Okay. D Company fighting patrol. Didn't contact the enemy 10th night. Relieved by the Royal West Kents. Out of the line to Viticoso for a bit. Only casualty in battalion was 1 man wounded. Didn't damage Germans much, so up to Florence for July 45. Day 1, moved up into the line, took over from the Coldstream Guards. Rumour that Jerry is pulling out, but I don't believe it. Did a recce with the commanding officer for tomorrow's advance. Very quiet, no shelling. Oh, that's unnatural. Day 2, we advanced at daylight, ordered companies A, D and B. We pushed up on the main road, and companies D and B took a series of high features on the right. We cleared a small village, Duda, and pushed on to the road junction below Con. D and B companies hit heavy trouble on our right, and their commanding officer ordered us to stop where we were. He came up for a look-see, and he and I were nearly killed. We were standing on the road talking when down came 2 ruddy great mortar bombs landing on the roofs of the houses on either side of us. The blast knocked us over, but no damage done. If either of those bombs had landed on the road, R.I.P. Day 3, at 2 a.m, a company of Royal West Kent Regiment took over, and A Company was withdrawn to go up and help B Company on the hills. We struggled up in the dark and had a hell of a job finding them. Dug in by first light. Lay in defensive positions all day, light shelling, but had a heyday against the Germans with our own artillery, far from my position. I would direct the fire, plunk on them. Bags of Red Cross flags and evidence. So on day 4, same positions, but moving into the valley to rest tonight for advance in the morning. Day 5, 6 a.m. advance. Got to Con, held by the Royal West Kent Regiment, and planned 3 company attack on some mountains. Attack on and off several times. The commanding officer seriously wounded, and Graham Smith, just back off course, took over. Commanding officer is very brave, gave out his last orders while in extreme agony on the stretcher. Lieutenant Colonel Madden, DSO. Next stop for him is Blighty, England. Now with the 2nd Gordon's Company to take a small hill, and A and B companies to go for a huge feature called Corbett, creeping up through a wood in the dark and clearing mountains next day. I don't like it. I feel it'll be a real stinker. I wrote to Marjorie a farewell letter just in case, and I left it with the Padre. Day 6. What a day. Last night advanced through woods in dark. A Company left and B Company right halfway up, surrounded by machine gun fire and grenade throwers. Decided after the confusion had been sorted out and the jocks soothed to pull back 300 yards and pretend we were bailing out and to do a wide night flanking stalk round behind the Germans on top of the mountain. It worked, and by first light we were dug in and making recce's on top of the mountain. Hellishly warm, no water, no rations, very little ammunition. I confirmed with B Company commander and decided to wait and see for an hour. While waiting, we put 3 unsuspected Germans in the bag who'd wandered over our way to relieve nature, not knowing that we were there. Heavy shelling down at battalion headquarters in the valley, but quiet up here. I put in an attack using 2 platoons of A Company, held up by intense machine gun and mortar fire. Lost 8 killed and 12 wounded. Withdrew to a position and licked our wounds. Commanding officer wirelessed us to hold it there. Day 7, we're still holding it. No food, no water, short of ammunition. Took out a small patrol and saw one of our officers captured. So I dashed forward, yelled to him, and chucked a grenade at the 4 Germans with him. He dived in a hole and got away with it, but the 4 Germans died. One of them was wounded, and I went up to give him help. He pulled out a grenade to hit me, and I had to finish him off toot to sweet. Nasty fellows, these Germans, I hated them. Up top, and reckoned the Jerrys were so surprised at seeing a tank up there, they forgot to fight. Anyhow, we bashed through them and captured the next height. I got blown off the top of the tank twice by mortar and shell blast, but apart from being deaf, no damage except for the thorns out of a bush that I fell into. Very uncomfortable. I pulled A Company forward and dug in on Corbett. Captain John Fotheringham was killed, Bob Spurnell wounded, also Gordon Drysdale. So that's where we've got to part 3. Next week is part 4, which is the final part of my father's diary, and rounds off quite an extraordinary tale.
Wow, it's just like so intense. And the fact that it's your dad, it's so personal, right?
It is. I mean, there's parts of it there in particular, where he was writing a farewell letter to my mother. It's very difficult to read that. It really is incredibly difficult. But what they went through there, I mean, it was just unbelievable. These people are just, today's generation, could they do it? I don't know. Maybe not.
So. Yeah. Maybe we should send people to Scotland to rough and tumble.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's I mean, us Scots, we're a pretty hardy lot. we do our best.
Well, that's really good. I could talk about this all day, but I know we have to get on with On This Day.
Yes, on this day. This is a difficult one because I found quite a few important events and important birthdays to do, but when I thought of it and looked at them, they all really, they all really sort of paled into insignificance as well. There's some very interesting ones there about first supermarket opened in America and so on, and birthdays, James Thomson, Scottish poet, and Carl Zeiss, who the German scientific instrument lens maker, it's his birthday today. D.H. Lawrence, the English poet, as well. It was his birthday. But when it came to deaths, I sort of had a real thought. So last night, 23 years ago, 246 people went to sleep in preparation for their morning flights. 2,606 people went to sleep in preparation for their work in the morning. 343 firefighters went to sleep in preparation for their morning shift. 60 police officers went to sleep in preparation for morning patrol. 8 paramedics went to sleep in preparation for the morning shift. None of them saw past 10 a.m. today, September the 11th, 2001. In one single moment, life may never be the same. So as you live and enjoy the breaths you take today and tonight before you go to sleep, in preparation for your life tomorrow, kiss the ones you love, snuggle a little tighter, and never take 1 second of your life for granted.
That was very touching. Thank you for remembering and honoring the people of September 11th. And of course, everyone who celebrated the birthday in the past. I'm sure we all have our own stories of where we were on September 11th. I know I surely do.
We all have it. There's very few moments in life that happens. That was one of them. And then when Princess Diana, when she died, we all remember where we were, what we were doing then.
Yep.
And that's it. It's like personal connection I have. Well, it's my son. He actually was commissioned to make 2 fighting knives. One of the American fighting knife for your special forces, and the other one was the British fighting knife, the Fairbairn Sykes commando knife that we know. And he was commissioned to make these two knives from a piece of steel salvaged from the Twin Towers. So he made the two knives and went across to America to do the official presentation to dignitaries in America with these two knives. It was a very poignant thing, and and I think it still gets to him as well when whenever it's mentioned to him. It certainly gets to me.
Mm-hmm. I know. Well, the next time I'm at the place of honor for September 11th, I will have to look for those knives.
Yes, yes.
I had a private tour of the place before it opened up, so I probably saw it and didn't realize I had a connection.
Well, there we are. Suddenly the world becomes quite small.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, what is your beautiful closing thought for the day? You always have great ones.
I know this one's been puzzling me for a long, long time. Why do psychics have to ask your name?
Oh, say that again.
Why do psychics have to ask your name? I mean, it's
Yeah, why do they?
yeah, quite. I don't know. I mean, you tell me.
That would happen on the Johnny Carson show. His sidekick's like, "What, Johnny? What is your name?" And Johnny's like, "You just said my name. What? What? What?" Oh, wow.
Yes, I mean it is that I mean, there's all sorts of silly things like that which I keep stumbling across as well. I'm just trying to think of one there. Well, to steal ideas from one person is plagiarism, but to steal from many is research. Worth remembering.
That's true.
So when you're looking through things and doing research into something, go through as many different parts as you possibly can.
Possibly can. That's true. Well, before we close, I just want to share with our viewers to check out Simon's rhyme book. Simon, can you very quickly, because I know we have to go, say the name of your book and how great it is? Because I know the name, I own it, but I want you to share it.
It's a rhyme in time, and I illustrated it and wrote it as well. It was great escapism doing. It's modern day type nursery rhymes with a bit of a Scottish tang. I mean, for example, Paddy's old daddy's a funny wee laddie. He went to sea in a battered tea caddy. He put in his line. He caught a big haddie. He's no such a baddie as Paddy's old daddy. So they go on like that, and it's really for children of all ages from about 1 to 101. So that's it. The adults are getting so much pleasure out of it as well, which is lovely. And I've had so many lovely comments coming back as well. Oh, we're keeping this. This book is a heritable thing that will get passed down the family, and it's lovely to hear that I've done something nice for people.
It's wonderful. I love it, and I love sharing it with family, friends, and reading it to school children. So I'm glad we had an opportunity for you to plug that book because I think it's marvelous. Well, guys, it is time for us to go. I don't know where the time goes, but I will be so excited to see Dr. Jacalyn back and Helena's CHARD. Simon, thank you for everything you do for us and bringing us such wonderful history. It's just phenomenal, and you put a lot into it, and I just want you to know we truly appreciate it. And for everyone out there, there's a lot going on in the world, so take a deep breath and keep loving your heart. And even if you disagree with someone, just say, okay, I'm going to keep loving my heart. I'm going to keep loving my heart, and don't argue. It just isn't worth it. Now, moving on, please stay tuned for the Anne Scotland Show, the podcast maestro, the art of storytelling. Also, be sure to tune in this evening for our news show, Coaching with Robert J. Moore, followed by International Productivity Tips with Megan Sandwich. We have so many great shows. I don't know why you would ever turn this channel off. Just keep watching. Also, later on today, we are going to have the Royal Breaking News and the Scottish Connection with Simon Macdonald. Wherever you are in the world, I hope your day is filled with peace and love. Bye for now. Have a great day.